Today I'm going to introduce you to color theory. I'm probably going to be surprising you with a lot of things that you learned in the past. We're going to be dealing with two colored systems, two different systems. One system is what you used to in art classes previously, and that's where primary colors are RYB, or red, yellow, blue. Today I'm going to introduce you to RGB as a color system, red, green, and blue as the primary colors. The difference there is when you're working on screen, and today we're working on screen and distance learning, you work in what's called RGB. Your screen works in RGB format. So the first thing we're going to do, I'm going to skip this presentation for now, but the main thing that we're going to do is we're going to go to, Photopea, click on the link, and that will open up Photopea for you. And I'm going to introduce you really quickly to some of the primary issues in Photopea. Today, this is the template that's going to load up, and you're going to be filling this in. But for this example right now, I'm going to put another layer right here on top of that. And I'm going to make that layer black. So I'm going to start with a black layer. I'm going to add 3 more layers to demonstrate. I'm going to start with a red layer with R, a green layer for green, and another layer for blue, B. We're going to start with R, and I'm going to go ahead and click on my foreground color here, and I'm going to look at the RGB settings. Right now it says 255 for blue. Well, that's saturated blue. I'm going to put that at 0, and I'm going to go to 255 being the maximum level for red. And that's going to go to red. And so I'm filling my palette with red. I'm going to go to my brush, which I'm going to enlarge all the way up. And I'm going to place a red dot right there in the red layer. And then I'm going to go to green, and I'm going to go back to my foreground color, bring my red levels down to 0, my green levels to 255. On that and put that green dot over here. Next thing I'm going to go is to blue. I'm going to change my levels for green back down to 0 and blue to 255 and click on that. So now I've got 3 layers at 3 different colors. I'm going to change what's called the layer screen to linear dodge. This is just for demonstration purposes. And I'm going to take the red. Now, if I were to mix red and green, what color do you think we would get? Well, let's take a look here. If I take the red over, put it with green, I get yellow. So red and green make yellow in the RGB system. If I take red and blue, I get what's called magenta. All right, that will mix the magenta. I can take the green and swipe that over the blue, and magenta or green and blue make cyan. So what I can do now is I can bring all 3 colors together. If I were to mix all 3 colors together, what would you think I would get? I would get white. So what I have here is I've got red, green, and blue as my primary colors, yellow, cyan, magenta as my secondary colors. And then when I mix all colors together, I get white. Now I'm going to show you how to fill in your color wheel using Photopea. The main tools you're going to be using here are going to be your selection tools. So over here on the side here, I'm going to go over here and pick my magic wand. That's going to be the main tool we're going to be using. So the magic wand is what I'm going to be using quite a bit in this assignment. Also, I'm going to be using my foreground color palette, and I'm going to show you how to deal with that right now. So we have 2 color wheels we want to color in. I'm going to focus on the RGB for the screen, not the RYB for paint or other reflective surfaces. We're going to focus on this, and we're going to start with the green. So to start with the green, I'm going to click on my foreground color. It's going to bring out my color picker, color palette. I'm going to actually select the green that's already in there, and that's clicking on it. And what that should give me is 255 for green, 0 for red, and 0 for blue. And I'll click OK. Next thing I want to use, I'm making sure I'm in my magic wand, and I click in that box. And then I can go to Edit, Fill, and it's going to fill in with the foreground. I can select foreground, background, black or white or whatever. I'm going to have foreground, click Yes. And it's going to fill everything in that square as green. Next, I want to go to my site. Well, let's go to blue. So I'm going to go over to here again. I'm going to put 0 for green, 255 for my blue, because we know that's the maximum blue there is. You can see it changes the palette. Let's click OK. Click in the B, and I'm going to do edit, fill again, and say yes to that. Now you see that inside the B, there are 2 areas that did not show up. The way in which I can do that is click inside those Bs, and I can go back and edit, fill. And the same thing here, edit, fill. And that will fill in the inside the B. Next, I'm going to go to red, and the same thing, get rid of my 255 for B, and go to red 255, say OK. Click on the red area, and then fill that in. I can also click on the inside of the R, fill that in as well. Next color I want to go to is, let's go to Cheyenne. One of the ways I can do with Cheyenne is I can click here with my picker. It'll show me that Cheyenne is green and blue. It's right between green and blue. So both of those are at 255. So I say OK. And using my magic wand, I select that box and I fill it. Oops, undo. Let's do it. Fill it with Cheyenne. Next, I want to go to my magenta. And so magenta is 255 of red and blue. So I want to make sure my red and blue say 255. Oops, 255. Say OK to that. And then fill that in. Now, yellow is 255 of each, green and red. So I'm going to go back here and change this to green. Oops, 255 of green and red. Make sure my blue is at 0. Say OK, select that, and fill that in. So now I have the primary and secondary colors. But to fill in the tertiary colors, the third layer colors, those are the ones that are empty right now. So I'm going to start with green and yellow between those. I'm going to start with the green, which is the primary color. That's 255. I could do it with the numbers, but I'm going to show you how to do it with this bar here. So there's a white line that goes across. I can bring it all the way down, halfway between yellow and green, and that would bring my R to be about 127, 128, and I'll say yes to that. And I'll go ahead and click in here and fill that in. Next, I'm going to go with the red to the yellow. So I'm going to click on here, select the red, and I'm going to go halfway up. You can see that white line halfway up, oops, to the yellow, and that should give me about 127, 128 of the green. And I'll click in here and fill that in. Again, I'm still with the red, but I want to get between red and what we're calling magenta. So I'm going to go back to my red, which is 255. That's all the way at the bottom here, or all the way at the top. It's the same thing. And I can bring it halfway down to magenta, which is about 127 blue, or 128, and fill that in. And click on that area and fill that area in. Now I'm going from magenta and blue. I'm going to start with the blue this time. I'm going to click here. I'm going to go 255 with the blue. So I actually hit it right on the target. And I'm going to go halfway up, move it halfway up to magenta, which would be 127 or 128. Click on that and fill that in. Oops, fill that in. Now blue and cyan. I'm going to go back to my blue. Let's take the red and make that 0. And I'm going to move it halfway down to cyan, which is be 127, 128 in that area. Click on that spot, Option Delete. Now I've got one more to fill in. And I'm going to start with green this time. So I'm going to go 255 green, 0 blue. And so I'm sitting right in the middle, and I'm trying to go towards cyan, halfway towards cyan, till the blue becomes about 127, 128. There we go. Let's click yes, and click into that box and fill that in. All right, so that's filling in the RGB screen, okay? Okay, so now the final thing I'm going to show you is how to fill in these blocks at the bottom. The values going from black to white in each one of these blocks, and then color shade monochrome going from a saturated color to black. The first thing I'm going to do is select my wand again. I'm going to click on this square, the black. I'm going to go back to my foreground, and I'm going to select black. I can do it two ways. I can select right here on the palette, right here in the corner, which would give my RGB at 0. Remember, all colors make white, which would be 255, and no colors make black. So I'm going to say yes to that. And then I'm going to go to Edit, Fill, Foreground, and say yes to that. And that's going to click in there. My next block I want to do is fill in is the white, because that's on the opposite side, but that's already white. And again, that will be 255 for everything. So I'm going to find the midpoint between those. Right in the midpoint, I'm going to click on my foreground color. I can go right at the middle here and kind of select visually the middle. And you can see everything went to 133. The actual middle is about 127, 128. So I'm actually going to fill that out. You don't have to. You can just kind of eye it together. So it's got 127, 127 is about the midpoint. I'm going to say okay. And then I'm going to fill that, go to Edit, Fill, Foreground Color, say yes to that. And now I have that. Now the next ones, I'm going to actually eye it. I'm going to go select the next one over, go back to my foreground color. I'm going to go about, because I'm going towards black, I'm going to go about 1/3 down. So right about there. Say select OK. Fill that. Next one, I'm going to click into the next box, go back to my foreground, move that over about 1/3 over, say yes, and fill that. Now I want to go back to my midtone. I'm going to select that, and that brings me immediately to my midtone. And now I'm going to go towards white. So I'm going to go about 1/3 up for white. Select that, yes, and click on the next box and fill that. Now I need to fill in this box here between this gray and the white. So I click on this, and I'm right here, and I'm going to go halfway between there, and I'm going to fill that. So there I have a gradation from black to white. Next thing is I want to figure out what color I want to start with and then go to black. So I'm going to have to select one of these colors. It does not matter which one you want to select. I'm going to select magenta. So I'm going to have my palette out, click on magenta as my picker, and it's going to bring it right here. So from there, I'm going to go click yes. And I'm in this box. I'm going to fill it in. And then I'm going to go to black. So I'm going to click on this box. And actually, no. I'm going to click on the halfway box between black and magenta. So I'm going to click on here. You're going to find that the magenta is all the way at the top here. And if I go halfway between these two, right over here, about 127 in terms of the R and the B. And you can just eye it. It does not matter. You can put your cursor right there and click on it. I will find the midpoint between black and my magenta color. Next thing I want to do is I want to select the next one over. It doesn't matter which way I go at this point. I'm going to go 1/3 up. I'm just going to eye it and fill that in. And then I'm going to, with magic wand again, select the next box and then go another halfway between those and the top and fill that in. So I want to go back here to my midpoint. Select that again. So I'm starting right at the midpoint and I'm going to go 1/3 down and I'm going to fill this box now with that. I'm getting darker. Select the next box and I want to go another 1/3 down between halfway, actually in this case halfway between where I was and all the way black and fill that. And then of course my last box is going to be black. So I'm going to put that all the way down. It's going to be all zeros here in RGB. So fill that in. And so